Hello there, my name is Chang. I'm not a professional climber, but I do like climbing and I do like manga. And this will be a review of a climbing manga known as Kokou no Hito, or in short, it's He Who Comes from the Abyss to Ascend Even the Heavens to Touch the Very Skies Itself, or The Climbers for short. And is written by Shin-ichi Sakamoto, as well as Yoshirō Nabeda, and illustrated by Sakamoto, based on a novel by Jirō Nitta. And this is Climber Reviews Climbing Manga. Here we go. Also, spoilers for the first chapter of this manga. Where are you going? And I'm like, first off, if you're a climber, you know exactly where you're going. You're going up, or you're traversing, you're going to the left or right. There's never a question on where you're going. When you start a climb, you're like, all right, my goal to start at the bottom. Now we up there. Now we here. Started from the bottom. Now we here, right? Now this is a really dumb box, but he's like pinch grip. Now in climbing, the pinch grip is like we have grips called. So we have like we have full crimp, open hand, 3-finger drag, 2-finger pocket, mono. And the pinch grip is just another type of grip that climbers use. In this case, he's pinching the shoulder of one of his main character. Looks cool though, so cool. Now this Chad over here, all the way in the back. Cool thing that I want you to take notice is like what he's messing around with on his hand. Right now, what he's messing around on his hand right there is just an exercise to work the antagonist of your forearm muscle, and that's really good in case you're like a climber's elbow or tendonitis, which a lot of people say will help. So he's over here just doing finger extensions while he's talking to the main character guy, right? Okay, so that right there is a legitimate thing. Makes a stupid face. We don't do that when we get to the top of a climb. We normally kind of celebrate, maybe yell a little bit. That's not something that happens. And right here, if you pay attention to his harness, it looks like he has the rope attached properly, if I'm correct. That's his belayer right there. What looks to be a lead route, because you could tell it's a lead route because he has a bolts here, here, and here. So very legitimate climbing. I want to take notice of how he has his chalk bag on his back. Very legitimate thing. All climbers have that. No chalk means no climbing. Challenging the main character, Mori, to climb from the bottom all the way to the top. Now, climbers, we don't antagonize people by saying anything like, hey, bro, how about you start from the bottom and get to the top like me? Nobody does that, really. And here we can actually see Mori climbing. And now this guy's reaction to Mori climbing is actually a pretty legitimate reaction, because whenever you do see someone climbing like buildings or something, you're like, oh, wow, what's going on there? So I do think that's pretty realistic. The technique he's using is really good, by the way. Normally when people climb, they're really all bunched up with their arms all curled up. And when you climb, if anyone's ever told you about climbing, you want to climb with straight arms. And as you can see, he has straight arms. He's leaning backwards. He looks relatively relaxed. You don't got a rope, you want to die? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's called free soloing. No rope climbing, you will probably maybe die. And now this right here is a great scene, because if you look, you can see that his feet are completely flat against the wall. You want flat feet against the wall to create the most amount of friction to prevent you from slipping. Also gives you the most register when you start climbing up. So that right there is good. And right here, we can see Mori's arms are completely shaking. Now, typically your arms won't like shake in the sense that you feel it shaking. If anything, it's more in your grip, and it feels like your grip is opening up as opposed to your whole arm shaking. Oh, and right here they talk about performing a hand jam between the pipe and the wall, which is a legitimate move in climbing. It's particularly for crack climbing. It's basically when you use your hand, you make it to a fist and you stick it behind something or jam into something so that's stuck. Right here, one of the dumb teachers like, oh, get down from there, right? Oh, get down. Like going down is a lot harder than going up, and that is absolutely correct. Funny enough, when you climb up, it's easier to see the holes you're moving up, but when you try to come down, it is much harder because it's harder to see the footholds. You got to come down. It's a very awkward type of thing. Mori, he does the thing where you're not supposed to do, which is look down. And the minute he looks down, he realizes he's really high off the ground. Now, I don't know if you ever been rope climbing before, but if you decide to look down and you haven't looked down, oh, let me tell you, it is extremely scary your very first time. And here's the fun thing about climbing. Sometimes when you look on like a wall or a ledge or something that's overhang, it doesn't look that big until you get really close to it. And this scene right here, this panel demonstrates it perfectly. This right here is called a roof. If it comes over to your head like 9 degrees, that's a roof. And now he's like, oh wow, it's really big, which is accurate, true, that you do get that feeling. And now for one reason or another, his hands start to slip and he's falling off, and of course it's a very scary moment for everyone because he might die. And this will have to be probably one of the most unrealistic thing about this manga, besides the fact that a total beginner has made it this high already without the use of chalk, is that he manages to do a full split to cam his body in between the two walls, and he also did it while his hands were slightly slipping, and that's just totally not a realistic move. Even if I was to try to do something like this, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. If I was holding a pole, let go of my hands, it'd just pop my feet back out and hold my hands again. Probably not gonna happen. Maybe if the walls are a little bit closer, but this right here, totally unrealistic. Totally will not ever happen, but you know, super cool, dramatic, nice. Now this guy right here, he's like, oh wow, he's even really flexible. And it is true that some climbers are just more naturally flexible than others, and it is good to be flexible in climbing. It's very useful, specifically for your legs. When you're climbing and your feet are like particularly stuck, you just always do this thing called reach, and you're like, oh my god, I feel like if I just keep reaching, it'll get there. But that's never hardly ever the case. He does what we call in climbing a dyno, and for a complete beginner to do it on the first time after climbing up so high after being tired without the use of chalk is absolutely unrealistic. No chance this is happening. But the way he lands on the jug, he lands really straight, but in reality he should have swung off because of all his momentum, but because we want to keep the main character alive, he just hit it nice and straight. Throws up the heel hook, and you see the heel hook slip off. And the heel hook is a real thing. So when you put your heel on a climb, around a climb, to add a little bit of leverage, take some weight off your arms, and use your legs to curl your body weight high. So he slips the heel hook, and you know that happens in climbing. And then he readjusts it, makes it a little bit higher, and then he does a mantle. Now the way he's mantling is way too epic. He should have done what's known as a beach whale, where you kind of like roll your stomach on top of the wall first. And of course the main character is exhausted, which makes sense. You have to do a really hard climb, you're exhausted, even your legs might start to shake a little bit. It's really weird feeling, honestly. And he does this really funny thing where he looks at his hands, and climbers, if you look at them long enough, they tend to look at their hands a lot to make sure to check the conditions of the hands, make sure the hands are okay and whatnot. Yeah, no, overall I think it's a pretty good manga. It's totally unrealistic in the sense that Mori, he progressed so fast in his climbing for someone who's never climbed, and for him to have that much natural aptitude at his age. Most people that are really good at climbing start off really young. He seems, I believe he's in high school, which is really late for climbing. But hey man, it's a good manga. If you like climbing, you want to, and you know, they do go into like some more specific details about it. Most of everything they say is true. It's just the application that has been used, and that's a little bit unrealistic. So yeah, that's my name's Ben Chain. That's my review of The Climber, and I'll see you next time, partner. Let me know you like this type of video or not though.